Whilst most South Australians enjoyed the Easter long weekend and many were able to get away, unfortunately a number of people were still caught doing the wrong things on our roads. This messaging has been continual from SAPOL, and we're looking for the public's assistance and other road users' assistance in improving this situation. Over the Easter weekend, the police mounted an operation which saw additional monitoring and patrolling of roads, both metropolitan area and in regional locations. Sadly, there were still 2 deaths on our road during the Easter weekend. A 63-year-old male from One Tree Hill and a 16-year-old boy from Strathalbyn died as a result of collisions, both with fixed objects, which, as we've previously stated, all of these collisions are preventable through appropriate decisions being made. Whilst we can highlight a number of things out of those 2 collisions, the investigations that are continuing will clarify where the areas are that we need to continue to work on to try and prevent these things occurring again. Over that same weekend, we saw 7 serious injuries occur. These are people that will have a change of life, and it'll be also a change of life for their friends, their family, and the community that they operate in a normal basis. During the additional monitoring for that weekend, police undertook some driver testing, both for drugs and alcohol at static testing sites, and paid attention to other fatal 5 things of speeding, seatbelts, distraction, and dangerous driving. Disturbingly, we still saw 5 drivers return a blood alcohol reading of in excess of 4 times the legal limit, and 6 people return a blood alcohol limit of in excess of 5 times the legal limit, with 102 drivers detected with having drugs in their system. Clearly, people are not listening to the messaging that we're doing and understanding the implications that their decisions have on the safety of other road users. Whilst most South Australians stuck to the speed limit during the weekend, we still saw a number of people committing offences of speeding, using their mobile phone, creating distraction for themselves in their vehicle, and different driving behaviours, e.g. the vehicle that we saw on a tree stump at Clare over the weekend. They were decisions by drivers that caused these incidents to occur. This weekend, South Australia has been given the opportunity, which is quite a momentous opportunity, to host the AFL Gather Round. Our information at this time says that we're looking at in excess of 80% occupancy in our hotels in Adelaide, which would indicate that we've got a lot of interstate travel coming in. We have launched an operation for this event, which will be focusing on a high visibility policing platform to ensure that people comply with the road rules, are considerate for other road users, and we seek the support and cooperation from the other road users to particularly pay attention this weekend, given that we've got multiple locations in Adelaide that these events will be occurring. Pedestrian traffic will be higher. Pedestrians are equally required to pay attention when they're crossing roads. If they're using earpods, mobile phones, any other distractive devices, they are also making poor decisions that are contributing to these events occurring. On top of the gather round, we're also seeing, we've got the school holidays occurring, which for most schools are commencing this Friday. What that will see is families possibly taking the opportunity to get away. The messaging that we are sending across at this stage is, if you're intending on going away for school holidays and you're taking a caravan, or you're going to stay at a shack or somewhere, or travel to remote areas, please ensure that you plan your trip So you have adequate rest breaks, you've accommodated any fatigue issues that you might foresee, you keep people alert that are driving and other people in the car where possible. Prepare your vehicle appropriately, make sure it's serviced, make sure the tyres are safe, make sure that everything is in a condition that you will not become either involved in a collision or suffer a breakdown in a remote location, therefore placing you at further risk. So let's try and prevent you becoming one of these statistics. We don't want to be counting any more people after this holiday period as either a life loss, a serious injury, or even involved in a collision at any point. So we just implore that people pay greater attention, drive to the conditions, drive to your own capabilities, and make sure that you're well set up to undertake the journey that you've got planned for your family. Thank you.
This weekend, what's the name of that operation and how long does it run for?
Operation Gather. It commenced today and will conclude on Monday.
And what time
Midnight?
did it commence today?
At midnight today, or this morning, and it will conclude Monday evening at midnight.
And where are you focusing? And there are obviously you'd assume most coming from the state from Melbourne, is that?
Particularly large arterial roads coming into the state. We also have got a lot of, with the events in the hills, so we've got one of the gather rounds is occurring in the hills, so there will be particular attention to the roads up there, given that the forecast for the weekend is wet, and people that may be unfamiliar with the roads will be paying attention to their driving behaviours.
And how many resources we have? Is there extra got to be stationed on?
So we're employing a high visibility policing strategy, so the available patrols from the areas are undertaking priority duties for those areas of concern. Traffic Services branch are already providing additional resources into those locations and to the rural locations that we would envisage that people will be travelling into the state.
So a similar size this weekend to what we saw at Easter.
Very, very similar plan.
Yeah. I guess as well, with all those resources in place over the Easter break, 190 drink and drug drivers and some of those pretty high readings, I guess, is the message getting through, or what would you say to drivers?
As we keep repeating, that these are the decisions that people are making for themselves. The police are doing their utmost to try and improve the position of our road safety messaging, cooperation by the driving public, and we implore people to make appropriate decisions. If you're going to go out drinking and have a good time, that's fine. Have a designated driver. Ensure that you've got a plan to get home safely. So as I said before, we've got plan, prepare and prevent. Nothing different if you're just going out for dinner and you think you're going to have some drinks. Apply those 3 Ps and we'll see the advantages from that.
Is this a sign of what's to come this weekend? You will get caught if you decide to do these behaviours?
There will be additional police out there and we'll be strongly focusing on road safety behaviours.
Can I ask, do you know what the sequence of events was involving the truck that used the arrest event this morning?
So the Southeastern Freeway has caused us some concern in relation to heavy vehicle descents. There are posted sign limits that control the descent speed of those vehicles, and the drivers are advised to use the appropriate gear to reduce the stress on the vehicle through the use of their brakes coming down that hill. The incident this morning is still being investigated. It's clear that there were some of those factors were not complied with, but the investigation will clarify where that's going to take us.
Is there any indication whether or not the driver might face then charges as a result?
So offences are being identified as a result of that, and there will be action taken at some point against that driver.
Is there any indication of inappropriate speed?
There's a number of factors that we're looking at, yeah.
This truck rollover at Richmond, have police identified any factors as to what the cause might be?
So it's a similar event, also, although it's not the Southeastern Freeway, it's a metropolitan major arterial road. South Road is one of our heaviest vehicle traffic numbered roads. Again, we've got contributing factors of speed and inattention by the driver, so which resulted in that collision occurring.
Is there a message to truck drivers to prevent this?
Truck drivers have a significantly more challenging task ahead of them when moving around in the metropolitan area particularly, and whilst they need to take into account that their vehicle is large, heavy and more difficult to manoeuvre around in city locations where the lanes are quite small in comparison to the truck. Other road users also need to be considerate for truck drivers. So it works a little bit both ways. The messaging for the truck drivers in this situation is please ensure that your speed is appropriate and that you're paying due attention to the environs that you're driving.
And that police chase that we saw, I think earlier this morning around Christie Downs and Brighton area, spikes were deployed twice. I understand. I guess how dangerous is it that people are doing this how dangerous is it for other drivers? And how effective are these road spikes?
So the recklessness of these people that engage in police pursuits has devastating effects across the community. So not only is there offences being committed and the police that are involved in it are put at risk, other road users and residents of areas are also put at extreme risk. So whilst we are doing our utmost to try and prevent these types of crimes occurring, it then reaches across, I suppose, to your own personal security. So make sure that your keys aren't available to your vehicle. Whilst we're seeing home invasions and keys being taken from inside the house, we implore that people are at least ensuring that the houses are locked, ensuring that their vehicles are locked, and there's a lot of opportunists, people out there that will take advantage of anyone that's not showing due diligence in those areas.
How effective are those road spikes at stopping?
They are a very effective device. However, they do place police at risk, and due to the design of the road spikes, sometimes the deployment of them is challenged by other road users that are using the road at the same time.
In terms of the gather round, do you know how many you'd expect interstate to come by road for these this weekend?
No, I don't know. I don't have an anticipated number. We are, it's clearly indicated that we're going to get an increase in volume of traffic, and the majority of the rounds that are being played in this are sold out. So as we can appreciate in the South Australian round, if it's the Adelaide Crows versus Port Adelaide game, we would expect a high attendance rate, but to be able to fill 9 games across a weekend is a significant increase in football attendance.
Yeah, there hasn't been anything quite like it, so is this sort of a next level type traffic blitz that you haven't seen before?
It's similar to the Easter weekend, so we have influxes over long weekends regularly. So the Easter long weekend and the October long weekend, generally we will always see increases in interstate travel, and we're treating this effectively like a long weekend, although it's not.
Well, they're ready for this sort of influx.
Yes.
And school holidays, will that high visibility continue?
Yes, so there will be a strong focus towards road safety strategy throughout the holiday period. As we saw that, as we were talking about all road users, we saw the incident at Morphville outside the high school there where the children were hit by the truck. Whilst that event is still under investigation, what we do implore for is particularly for younger people and children using the roads, teenagers that are easily distracted with the use of their mobile phones and ear pods in their ears, which limit their ability to be able to hear oncoming traffic. And we implore them to check the road is safe before stepping onto the road. Just because the little green man says to walk across the road, it doesn't make it always safe. You should ensure your own safety.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.